A lot of downed trees hit power lines, cutting off power to many of you. My house was without for 8 hours or so. As we mentioned, tens of thousands are still in the dark this morning as crews make repairs.
WFMY News 2's Manning Franks is live in Greensboro, where they're actively trying to restore power in that area and also for thousands of customers. Manning, talk to us about the extent, what you're seeing, and what's going on.
Well, first off, yeah, Megan, I was in that exact same boat for my wife and I, where we were without power for almost, essentially, if I could do math in my head, almost 12 hours, which in and of itself is a long time because there were a lot. If you were looking at the Duke Energy outage map, especially at the peak of last night when we had that initial front come through, you will see so many different outages. And right now, they are still in the process of going through and trying to make sure that power is back on for a lot of these individuals here. Right now, we're in the intersection of Lawndale and Cottage Place, and you'll see a lot of these instances where there will be lights down. And so you see that light down, and of course, what thing you should do by law, I want to preface this, or I want to make sure you know that this is a law. When it comes to lights that are out, treat it as a four-way stop. Yes, just like this car was doing here. Stop, look, and then proceed with caution. If there is someone else, treat it again like you were at a four-way stop. Now, last night, as we were covering the deluge and the gusts of wind, instances that we found off was, of course, down trees and power lines. One tree in a neighborhood fell on a home, and one of the neighbors there, actually, while the homeowner was not present and thankfully no one was hurt, the neighbor next to the actual place where the tree went down actually had something happen to her similarly, and she shared her story with us.
I seen when the tree was falling down, and at that point I immediately ran cover, like start yelling for my children, like, let's go to the bathroom, because I felt like that was going to be the only place, the safest place. But through the grace of God, when that particularly happened, it took out my garage and only a tip of my own personal home.
So I reached out to Duke Energy this morning just to kind of get an idea of where things are. Now, of course, we are not at the peak that we were when it comes to outages, as last night we were about 30K across all of North Carolina. A little bit less of that here, particularly in the Triad. And I'm sure they'll be working out around the clock to make sure those last little bits, especially before we get into the big bulk of the day, that those outages are fixed. But we'll keep you updated once we learn more. Live in Greensboro, I'm Manning Franks, WFMY News 2.
Yeah, thanks, Manny. I've been tracking these maps, too, for the last hour. Looks like there is steady progress in Guilford, a little slower going in Forsyth County, but we thank those line crews who are working hard to get the lights back on. Well, some of the earliest reports of power outages in our area began around 7 last night.
So for those of you who are still without power, that means you're probably going on, when you think about it, about 12 hours without energy. Now, that means you should also take a look at your fridge. Federal food safety rules say that if the power was out less than 4 hours, you shouldn't have to worry about anything. But if the food sat in your fridge for more than 4 hours with no power, you want to check your perishable items. If the internal temperature of your fridge is higher than 40 degrees, those items may no longer be safe. And when it comes to your freezer, as long as you haven't been opening it, everything should be fine for about 24 hours. If you're unsure of what to do, just follow the standard safety rule for food. When in doubt, throw it out. And also, to stay updated on the latest conditions in your area, just follow along and online at WFMYnews2.com.